last one talking about we just moved in with Nanny and Grandpa in Illinois. And so now it starts to get to, well, some not as much fun stuff. So, I'm not exactly sure how long that we were at Nanny and Grandpa's house, but, so, my dad ended up meeting a lady, and, I can't remember if someone set him up or something like that, but I remember, and I'm not even sure if they still do this or not, but there at Mount Vernon, they used to grow a bunch of corn, and so every year they would do the Sweet Corn Watermelon Festival. So sweet corn and watermelon festival. And so, like, where if you want to consider it like the downtown area, like where the movie theater was at, and where the courthouse and all that stuff was at, they would block off the road back there, and you know, they'd have these big cookers, and they'd be making sweet corn and cutting up watermelon and stuff like that. And so the plan is that I guess that was going to be their, like, the first date. And so that's when we met the lady that would end up becoming my stepmom, Melody. And so, like I said, the road, they would just have all these, like, benches laid out, and you could get corn and you get watermelon and all that stuff, and just a little festival. And so we met Melody then. She seemed nice enough at the time. And I think all three of us went. Well, I should say four. My dad, my brother, and my sister, and me. And about the only thing I really remember is she seemed nice at the time. And she had what she called the Pinto Mustang. So she had like I think it was like a light baby blue, like Mustang 2. Or it might have been like a early Fox body, I can't really remember, but she just called it the Pinto Mustang. And so shortly after this time period, and I don't remember how much time had transpired in between the two things, but she became pregnant, and then her and my dad got married, and I think at one point she said that she was pregnant with twins. But anyway, so they got married, and we moved into my Uncle Mike's house over on, was that College Street or something like that, I think was the name of the thing. And if I can find a picture, I'll put a picture. I know I said that about some of the stuff that happened in Arkansas. And then I completely forgot about a tornado went through there a few years ago. And, like, some of the stuff ain't there anymore. Or just time has changed. You know, it's been... Well, I left Arkansas, joined the Army, and right before September 11th happened until 2001. So it's been 20 some odd plus years. Well, I was thinking, well, this time 20 years ago, we're just now getting into January, so this time 20 years ago, I was actually in Iraq, and we were preparing for the first election, so in OIF2, but I'll get to that later. And so some of this stuff I haven't thought about in a long time, and some of it I don't like to think about, but here it goes. So, like I said, she became pregnant, her and Dad got married, And so we moved into my Uncle Mike's old house, and we were renting it from him. And so I don't remember how it all started, but my dad was driving trucks and all that. And I do remember while we was there, something happened, and he got out of his truck one time and like twisted his knee, and his knee was all swollen up with fluid and stuff like that, so he wasn't able to drive for a little bit. But I'm trying to think of which way I want to go. So I'm not that big of a food person. I never have been. And so there were like stuff that I didn't like. I don't like mayonnaise. I don't like coleslaw. I don't like potato salad and things of that nature. And so it was quickly shown that what Melody was to certain people, she wasn't necessarily that way with us. When I say us, it didn't work too much for my brother, Jeff. I'm not sure exactly how long he was with us, but then he moved over with Nanny and Grandpa. And so it's just me and Amanda for a while. But like, one of the things is like, she would say that she didn't want to waste food. So she would force me to eat stuff like coleslaw or potato salad and different things that she knew that I didn't like. To the point where if I didn't eat it, I would get hit. And so I would have to eat these foods so that I was gagging pretty much and almost throwing up. So that's like one of the things that happened. And this went on like the whole time that her and my dad were married. And so like, one of the things I remember happening at the house, I can't remember, but I think some of the other cousins and stuff were there, and we were watching a movie. And I can't remember if they were there or not, but I know this happened. She thought it was fun to like throw silverware at me to see if I could dodge it. And one time she threw a fork and it like stuck in my calf. And yeah. But then, like, the worst thing that happened in a way is, I can't remember. It was a wooden paddle. I remember that much. I think someone had just like took a 2x4 though and like cut a handle into it. And I don't know what happened, but she hit me with that thing one time. And that was the only time she ever hit me with it, just because like my whole butt, legs and everything were just all black and blue from getting hit with this thing. And so that only happened once with that. But it was like a continual thing that like stuff like that would happen. She would get mad, just like backhand me, stuff like that. To the point, I don't even remember how long we were up there or how long this was going on. But I kind of, in like a 9 or 10 year or 11 year old's mind, I knew how to get from Illinois to Arkansas. And so I kind of knew how the states were shaped and all that. And I knew about where Mount Vernon was, and I knew about where Truman was. Like I said, my like 11 or 10 or 11, 12-year-old brain. And I knew it was about a 4-hour drive from Mount Vernon to Truman. And so I remember I just didn't like it. And I had this little crude map drawn out, and it had like the bottom of Illinois, the side of Missouri, and like the upper part of Arkansas, very crudely drawn. And in my mind, I was thinking that it's a 4-hour car drive. If I walk, I'm gonna have to do this at night because I don't want people seeing me and everything like this. And I thought it would take like And I know this is a crazy thought, that it would take like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week, for me to get from Illinois to Arkansas. And I like never went through with this plan, but I thought about it really hard for a while. And so, like I said, during this time, Melody was pregnant. She said it was twins. And then, like, she said that my brother tried pushing her down the stairs and all this other stuff, and that's why he went to go live with Nanny and Grandpa, when part of it is that Jeff was just a little bit bigger than me. Well, Jeff was bigger than me. And Melody, when we first met her, she wasn't that tall, she wasn't that big. But when she got pregnant, she put on a lot of weight. And at the time, I'm like 5'6", something like that, like 90 pounds soaking wet. And so I just wasn't big enough to be able to stop anything that she would do to me at that time. I wasn't big enough, and I wasn't strong enough. And so this went on for a while, and well, as the story goes, you'll kind of see how far that, to one point, how far that it ended up going. But this is just kind of, I know there's a lot of pauses. I'm trying to figure out how to say all this. This is kind of like the introduction to it. Like I said, there's still foods to this day I can't stand the smell if I can smell them, and I can't stand the texture, and like just other things. Like if I try eating it, I'll just start gagging and almost throw up, and it's because of that. And there's some other issues that I got that are because of that, but we can talk about that later. And I think I've said it before, this is, especially with your brother coming, like, I was terrified of having kids. And the reason I was terrified of having kids is because when bad stuff happens to you and you were hit, it's like a vicious cycle. The only way you know how to deal with stuff is that you want to hit. And then with everything that I've kind of been through, I get angry really fast, and I know it would only take that one time of losing control. And that's something that I fight with all the time, is having that anger and trying not to let it out, especially like physically. I don't do the best job. I've never hit you. I pray to God that I never do, because I know how that feels, and that's the last thing I want for you. But I'm trying to do the best that I can to give you the life that you deserve, and that was a lot better than what I had growing up. And so I haven't wanted to talk about like the divorce, because that's a sensitive subject. I haven't wanted to talk about this because I just didn't know how to I know how to do it. I've just been kind of putting it off a little bit. But for me to tell my story, it has to be told. And so I think the next one I'll kind of go into what started happening after all this happened. So like I said, she wasn't a very pleasant person, and as time, it morphed in different things like that. But Yeah, like I said, I just want you to have so much more, and I want you to have such a better childhood than what I had. And your mom might get mad that I buy you stuff. Well, I'm not going to say that. No. I think I'll just cut that out. But because I didn't have much, and because there were times that I had to leave everything, and I always wanted better. That's one of the reasons that I buy you and try to get you all the stuff that I think that you need. And it's way too much, but that's just me trying to show that I care. And I do want you to know that I do love you a lot, and that I would move mountains for you if I had to. So, like I said, the stories aren't going to be quite as great if you ever watch these coming up for a bit. But this is all that happened, and I know I'll probably miss some stuff and forget some stuff, but this will be a good icebreaker of things to come. Love you, bub. Bye.